Hello and thank you for listening. My name is Bryan, host of the Plant Podcast. The Plant is brought to you by ThinManager Software, the global leader in thin client management and mobility solutions. ThinManager is a Rockwell Automation technology. In this episode of The Plant, I had a chance to sit down and talk with Steve Schuler, Senior Commercial Engineer for Rockwell Automation. Our topic, a deeper dive into ThinManager version 10 and some of the amazing features available with this release. Hello and welcome to The Plant. I'm your host, Bryan, and joining me today is Steve Schuler from Rockwell Automation. Steve, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Bryan, thanks for having me.
Steve, before we get started, give us a little bit of history about you and what exactly you do at Rockwell.
Yeah, so I got hired on with Rockwell in 2011 as a field service engineer. At that point, my main focus was post-sales on-site support. So I would be doing control system troubleshooting, installation, maintenance and commissioning, and even development. In 2013, I really began to focus on, Rockwell software offerings, our visualization and information software products. And that includes like our HMI products, Historian, Vantage Point, other information software products. This is when I really started to see ThinManager out there in the plant. So I was exposed to several projects involving ThinManager, and it saw a lot of adaptation of the software to drive visualization and manage devices. I learned that ThinManager really pairs well with Rockwell's visualization and information software, and noticed customers really valued their ability to use it to centrally manage their devices and content.
The reason I wanted to have you on is a couple of episodes ago, we talked with Doug Coulter, who just told us kind of an overview from the top looking down of ThinManager 10 and some of the exciting new features that are offered. And I thought you'd be the perfect guest just with your experience and kind of your technical know-how to really give us a deeper look at some of those features. To start, I wanted to talk about authentication pass-through. With this new feature, a user can authenticate to a ThinManager managed terminal, and that authentication is passed to all the sessions of FactoryTalk View being delivered to that terminal. And I'm hoping you can give us a little more detail exactly how authentication pass-through works and really what it means to an end user.
Yeah, authentication pass-through is a really neat new feature that greatly enhances end user productivity. As you said, now with version 10 of VUSE and ThinManager, a user can authenticate to a ThinManager managed terminal, and a successful login will be registered not only at the terminal, but also within all the VUSE sessions running on that terminal. So that feature really streamlines the login process at terminals, which are using the multi-session feature to deliver multiple FactoryTalk VUSE sessions to a terminal. So for an example, you could have a control room situation where a single terminal is driving multiple monitors with VUSE sessions running on them. Maybe each monitor has the same VUSE display client, or maybe they have different ones with views into several areas of the plant. But prior to version 10, a user would have had to log in at the terminal, but then still log in to each VUSE client session to make sure their credentials and privileges were recognized by the VUSE application. So now it's one login and all VUSE sessions are automatically logged in.
It's a big time saver.
Yeah. To an end user, it's huge because not only do they stop worrying about logging in, but they also get to stop worrying about logging off. So in my experience, working in manufacturing environments, I've noticed that anything which streamlines security measures while still providing necessary security requirements is highly appreciated. Users want security to work for them, not the other way around. So an operator with slightly elevated privileges won't have to worry about logging off multiple times before continuing to address, other pertinent matters.
So let me ask you this, say you use like a badge scanner at a terminal and you've done your password initially and it's done the password caching. So basically when you scan that badge to leave the terminal, does it then just log you out of all those sessions?
Yes, that's right. It will.
That's perfect.
I can explain kind of what's going on behind the scenes with that.
Yeah.
So ThinManager leverages a distributed security model where a group of users, either local to the ThinManager system or more globally managed by Microsoft Active Directory, can either be permitted to access the running sessions on a terminal or be delivered a new session based off of that individual's account. So the model is more of a content access control or user tailored content delivery system. But one of the challenges with ThinManager security is that it does not really have much visibility into the security models of the individual apps running within the sessions. So historically, there haven't really been any hooks to engage with the applications running in that session to leverage that application security model.
I think authentication pass through is going to be a big one for not only for the end users but the administrators, to ease the life of the end users.
Right, right. So what's going on behind the scenes? So the ActiveX is really the brains of this feature. So the FactoryTalk View SE application also utilizes a distributed security model. The View SE security model is managed by a service known as FactoryTalk Services Platform. That service is essentially the backbone to all the FactoryTalk service software products, including packages like View SE, Historian, Asset Center. That model is similar to ThinManager in that it is capable of containing either local users and groups or more globally managed users and groups with Microsoft Active Directory. So when any one of the FactoryTalk apps has a login request, a security token is used by the FactoryTalk Services platform to forward to that app. So ThinManager has historically been able to expose individual terminal variables to applications running in sessions on that terminal through the use of an ActiveX control. That way, application developers have the capability of exposing events that occur at terminals to applications running in sessions on the terminal. So for example, if a developer wants to incorporate a button into their application to enable touchscreen out calibration, or maybe a terminal restart, they could use the ActiveX to do that. So what Rockwell and ThinManager have done with version 10 release is they work together to integrate that ActiveX control into the View SE display client, and it will do the work of sensing the terminal login event, and it will generate that security token that the security platform needs so that a user can simply log into the terminal, and then the ActiveX will handle passing that login request to the services platform and then onto the session.
One of the new features I thought was really enticing for administrators is that support for Active Directory, but across multiple domain controllers. I was wondering, how exactly does that improve on how ThinManager used to operate? What does it mean for the administrator?
Yeah, so the support for multiple domains is a real game changer for system admins. It has big implications. Rockwell Automation, makes it a top priority to bridge gaps or challenges to our customers by delivering solutions that bring the connected enterprise to life. So this is definitely an example of delivering on that goal. Many of our customers, they have large organizations with enterprise level administration of their users, groups, and policies. And these customers can have one to many manufacturing sites globally or nationally. In order for their admins to organize their site-specific assets, such as users and computers, they use Active Directory services. This allows them to create an enterprise container, and then within that container, create multiple domains to house the site-specific assets. So where ThinManager comes into the picture is that we introduce support for a single Active Directory domain back with the release of version 8. That way, 80 users and groups could be integrated into the ThinManager security model and then just maintained in one location through Microsoft Active Directory. It takes the burden of managing security policies that change over time off of the ThinManager admin and leaves it in the IT space.
So with the multiple is you could basically have a user, well, whether he fits into a group or it's just on the user, but it can go from site to site and still have some of the same functionality they have at their home base, at a different site.
That's right. Yeah. So with with introducing multiple domain support now, basically we're looking to leverage a trend that we're seeing develop in companies as they look to expand and globalize. So like one of the things that we're seeing is they're looking to leverage lean workforces and skill sets. And then they're also looking to access data throughout the enterprise, so between sites. So an engineer at one site might be leveraged to start up equipment at a different site, or a supervisor might want visibility into processes at multiple sites. So with multiple domain support, ThinManager enables these users from different domains, but within the same organization to access their ThinManager system and the content it delivers. The visiting engineer could log into a terminal on a cell they're starting up and access their Studio 5000 Logix Designer without having to deal with having a local account created by IT. Or a visiting industrial engineer can log into a control room terminal and view their production reports. So it's looking to really connect an enterprise and allow users that mobility.
Yeah, I can only imagine, especially for some of the larger customers who use ThinManager, how valuable that could be. I think that's going to be a huge one. Okay, so the last feature that we've talked about with ThinManager 10 that I wanted to get your take on was the password caching and PIN authentication. And my understanding is that with this feature, a user can log into a terminal at the beginning of their shift, use their standard authentication, but then use quicker authentication methods for the remainder of their shift, like a PIN or a badge scan, as they move throughout the floor from terminal to terminal, or as they go throughout their day. Can you explain a little further and tell us the details on how that would work in a live environment?
Yeah, absolutely. So ThinManager is looking, what they're looking to do with this feature is enable users to be more productive while still maintaining compliant security. I think I may have said this already, but the users of our software really want security to work for them and not the other way around. So with password caching, a configurable time can be set for a user's password to be cached. That way they are not having to enter it in again if they step away from the terminal to check on something. And the option really pairs well with our multi-factor authentication offerings. So with multi-factor authentication, users have already been able to utilize like an RFID badge or a fingerprint scanner in combination with a password. But now we've added a PIN to the mix. So you can combine password caching with another form of authentication, such as a user logging in at the beginning of their shift and is required to enter their password and then enter a PIN. And then after the initial login, the user's password will be cached so that the next time they just have to enter in that PIN.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot quicker than remembering a password, depending on your password. I know mine is a little bit lengthy.
Right.
No, I can definitely see how that'd be much simpler. And I think I got a little confused with authentication pass through and password caching and kind of how that that timeout on the cache works. So that definitely straightens that up for me.
The PIN will get you to your content faster. So if you're not having to enter in those long passphrases like you said on on possibly a touch screen with visibility for others. And there's also a temporary PIN feature as well. So you can have stored PINs, but you can also have unique temporary PINs that have their own expiration. So there's really a broad offering there.
I didn't even realize that was available. I can't thank you enough. That's all the time that we have for today on the plant. A special thanks to you, Steve. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bryan.
As always, for all of our listeners, to learn more about ThinManager, go to thinmanager.com. We've got plenty of new content about version 10 and all of its exciting new features, including the features we talked about today. The site also offers tutorials on ThinManager, as well as informational data sheets, customer stories, training opportunities. I'm your host, Bryan Harned. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll talk to you next time.